Hello there and welcome to another Coffee with Colin, and thank you for joining me. Interesting one this week. Back in June I put out a post which was entitled "You Can't Microwave Personal Growth, It Requires a Slow Cooker." And I made some very plausible arguments as to why that is true. That in my opinion we need to sort of immerse ourselves over the long haul in a study program, for want of a term, to help us become fully orbed and better people, and as a result our businesses and our careers can grow on the back of us growing as individuals. And I was very happy with it, and a lot of people commented they were happy with it too. They all said it made sense. And then this week a lady called Michelle Foley very interestingly challenged it, and she put forth, as she calls it, the case for the humble microwave. And I thought, let's explore it, because maybe there is a case for the humble microwave when it comes to personal growth. And in her argument, she put forth 4 elements that perhaps we should consider or could consider in terms of the microwave being an effective methodology or an effective analogy for personal growth. And let's explore them. And the first of Michelle's arguments goes that she says, what strikes me is that microwaving is the only method of cooking that works from the inside out, causing the molecules in the food to resonate and complete the cooking process from within. Now, for what it's worth, I'm on the same page as Michelle here, because success, all sustainable success is an inside job. Richard Branson is known to have said that people think he's happy because he's successful, and he'd argue no, that he is successful because he's happy. All personal growth comes from inside out, and therefore, at least on this particular point, I'm in agreement with Michelle. Second argument Michelle puts forth is that all other forms of cooking are from the outside in, and there's a heat source generated from the outside, and oftentimes it can cause a crustiness on the outside as the food slowly cooks. In fact, she also suggests that at times, and we've all seen this, that food appears cooked on the outside but in fact is raw on the inside. And I find this one interesting in that Michelle is absolutely right. In all other forms of cooking, energy is put forth from the outside and works its way in. That said, in the microwave, there's also an external source of energy that must be used to generate the resonance of those molecules to allow the cooking from the outside in. So perhaps we're 50-50 on this one, Michelle. One other aspect of this that I think is interesting is where Michelle points out that we've all seen food that looks cooked on the outside but is in fact raw on the inside. And I liken that to the individual who's putting forth all the right signals, appearing successful, appearing to have depth of character, but in fact if you were to cut into them, it's just a veneer. There's no real depth, nothing really underneath the hood going on. And the third argument Michelle puts forth is, she says, in terms of self-development, I am of the Miyamoto Musashi school of thought. Now, I hope I'm saying that right. Which goes on, and she goes on to say, there is nothing outside of yourself that can enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is inside you. Seek nothing outside yourself. And while I concur with that, I think it's also sort of interesting that we are in fact talking about another school of thought which has been introduced to us, to Michelle, and from Michelle to me, and from me to you, by another source, by an external source. We're back to Pocahontas. If you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you learn things you never knew you never knew. And at some point, I have to assume Michelle didn't know this particular school of thought, and therefore once she knew it, and she now knows it, and she's passed it on to me. I now know it, I'm passing it on to you, and you now know it. But it was perhaps something you never knew in the first instance. So we're sort of going around in circles here, but it required an outside source of information for us to be even having this conversation in the first place. And Michelle continues on this particular point by saying, if self-development was food in the microwave, the person is changing and developing from the inside out. Their edges do not have to burn or harden to show they are ready. Nice point. And in concluding Michelle's case for the humble microwave, she goes on to say, so let's not overlook the humble microwave. In fact, let's learn from it. Leaders need to ensure that they set the correct wattage so that people begin to resonate with their ideas and develop from within, because I think the important thing is that it should be possible to allow people to develop without being scarred or marked by the process or losing their inherent goodness, aka their nutritional value. I think that's just fantastic. I love the wattage analogy. You know, leaders are out there and they've got their own particular wattage, and some people resonate with some leaders and some people don't resonate with other leaders, yet other people do, if you know what I mean. So I think that's absolutely spot on. And the bottom line is, Michelle finished by saying, maybe this has been food for thought, or maybe you think it's a half-baked idea. Truthfully, I think it's brilliant. I think it's food for thought for sure. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope and trust as ever you got something from it. Please consider what's been shared here today and apply it into your thinking for this next week. And then very importantly, come back next week and we'll share another coffee together and I'll ruminate on some other aspect of life and business. Between now and then, get some great coffee for sure, get some fresh air for sure. If you spend a lot of time with people, I recommend you spend some time alone. Conversely, if you spend too much time alone, I recommend you go out and meet some people. And then when the time is right, and only when the time is right, get your head back in the game, get organised for the week ahead, get stuck into some personal development, and I'll see you here this time next week for another Coffee with Colm. Sláinte. I love great coffee. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.